Hey, here we go again with the second update on the binge. Still at it, still going strong. So again, the idea here is just whatever I watched during the week. Gonna spend about a minute, minute and a half per movie, just so that I can get that out there, and in so doing, consolidate my own thoughts. So yeah, not gonna waste any time. Keeping it kind of raw, but here we go. First movie that I saw this week was the best movie I saw this week, and that's Amélie. It's got a look to it. Now, this is probably the closest thing to a Wes Anderson movie that I've seen that isn't a Wes Anderson movie, and it's a good comparison. I mean, Wes Anderson. It's a feel-good movie, and it's one of the best feel-good movies I've ever seen because technically it's so on point, and that elevates the whole movie for me. But it's still very alive, it's very vivid, it's very fun. It's a fun movie. This is one where, if it wasn't so European, I could recommend it to my mom. The only things you can say bad about is that it lacks certain things. It doesn't have a great purpose. It's cliche. It's basic. So yeah, all around good movie. Recommend it. If nothing else, it's got some pretty great visuals to it. It's not changing my life here, but it has a very interesting style to it. So I think that's why people have latched onto it. But really, I just enjoyed the movie because it was a lot of fun. Watched Ant-Man. Yeah, pretty proud of myself for hanging out on that one. Waited all the way to Redbox for this one, and probably the right choice. Let's just say Edgar Wright should have directed this movie. It felt like a watered down Edgar Wright movie. There were occasional things that I really enjoyed, like they're fighting in the briefcase, and then Siri mishears him and starts playing Disintegration by The Cure. Hilarious. Really a pretty by the numbers superhero movie. I did appreciate that it was very PG. I mean, this is PG-13, but this is as PG as superhero movies get, in my opinion. And there's something to enjoy about a movie that just goes back to that root of just being campy and fun. But still, at the same time, I was just poking holes through this movie the whole time. I mean, just with the grow, shrink, whatever those pellets they had. I mean, so many things they could have done with that. They were very inconsistent with the mass conservation theory. Plus, that whole ending. I mean, come on. Where he just kind of decides he's going to save the day. I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. I watched Easy Rider, which is one of those kind of obligatory watches, and it was okay. Kind of one of those movies that feels like they just shot a bunch of stuff and made a movie out of it, and from everything I've heard, that sounds like that's exactly what they did. So I'm like, why didn't you just make a scripted documentary? And what I could have done this. And I get that it's embracing motorcycle culture, and I feel like it did a good job with that. Jack Nicholson, I mean, this guy, Jack Nicholson, smoking weed, talking about aliens. I mean, I'll watch that all day long. But there were certain things about the movie where it just kind of wandered, and I guess the carefree sort of nature to it is part of the whole biker embrace, in embracing that culture. That's what the movie's about, and the movie kind of feels like that. And that artsy montage, what, acid trip, maybe that's how acid feels. But all in all, it does a really good job of portraying biking culture, the carefree attitude, and I thought that was good. But it's not impressive enough in any other way for me to need to go buy the Criterion Collection release. But Blood Simple, the Coen brothers' first movie, I've been looking forward to this one, and Generally not let down. It was better than Raising Arizona by far. From the scene where the guy comes in with the photographs, I'll put it that way. From that scene to the end of the sequence of events there was absolute perfection. The acting is pretty darn good. The writing is smart. It's got a good noir feel to it. There is some downtime to it. Like, it feels like a really, I don't know, some story that play out over the course of 3 episodes on TV. And in that, they've got some scenes where you're like, do we really need this? And even then, I can think of things I would have rather seen than what they portrayed. And I think those are kind of apparent, so I'm subtracting points there, but overall, a must-watch for Coen Brothers fans. And the last movie that I watched was The Spirit of St. Louis. It's about the first crossing of the Atlantic by plane by Charles Lindbergh. It's got Jimmy Stewart in it, and it was a little strange to experience a biopic this old. I mean, I just didn't really think they made those back then, and you can sort of tell that the genre didn't have things as well figured out back then, unless you have a direct tie to Charles Lindbergh or you're really, really into Billy Wilder. I don't think there's a reason to watch this, but it was fine. And that's it. So 5 movies. Didn't have anything that's absolutely rocking my world, but had some okay movies, and nothing that made me want to beat my head against a wall. So overall, good week. I'll be back again, most likely next week. Batman v Superman. But I'm afraid, for now, this is